Hey y'all, this is Bennett Sullivan. It was such a beautiful day in Brooklyn today that I wanted to come out and do a video out on my back deck. So this is where I am right now, the sun's setting, and I just wanted to show you how to learn Long Journey Home or $2 Bill using your ears. And we're just going to do, this is going to be a straight up beginner version. My kind of process behind going to a jam session, hearing a song for the first time, and trying to figure out the melody. So maybe you do know Long Journey Home, maybe you don't know, but this process applies to all vocal tunes in the bluegrass genre. And really all vocal tunes in general, and it's kind of like learning by ear 101. The first thing you need to know about learning these vocal tunes is that it's not going to sound like a banjo-y solo. It's not going to sound like a lot of notes. You're really just getting down to the fundamentals of ear training. So what I do when I'm at a jam session and I hear a song is I listen out for the vocalist. I don't listen to really any of the other instruments, but I listen for the vocalist. What notes are they singing? You don't need to know exactly what the notes are, but you just want to memorize that melody. Because once you have a melody in your head, then you can start to apply it to your instrument. If you don't have any melody in your head, then you don't really have a starting place. So you want to figure out what the melody is, hear it in your head, then you can start to apply it to your instrument. Step 2, what key is the song in? Because that also gives you a starting place. So those two things are the fundamentals for figuring out something by ear. So a lot of songs are played in G, C, D, A, E. These are really common keys for bluegrass jams. We're going to do this song out of the key of G. So someone starts singing Long Journey Home, they're in the key of G. It sounds like this. Lost all my money but a $2 bill, $2 bill, Lord, a $2 bill. And let's just start with that first section. You can even break it down into smaller increments if you want to, and you probably will need to do that. It's all about baby steps. So in the jam, even if you only get that first phrase, lost all my money, even if you only get that first phrase, and you weren't able to do it before, that's huge because you know what to do and then you can go from there. So taking that melody, lost all my money, we have to figure out the first note. So let's compare that melody to the chord that's happening underneath that melody. And the chord that's happening underneath that melody is a G chord. So there's a good chance that that melody note is going to be in that G chord. You just got to find it. So you got to play each note of the G chord, which is really just each string of the banjo until you find that note. So lost all my money, lost all, and I just kind of sing it over and over and over again until I find it. For those of you who say you're tone deaf or say you're a bad singer, I've heard that before and I totally get it. I used to think that same way, but then I think about the songs that I actually can sing, Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, Happy Birthday, these like really fundamental tunes that we learn when we're growing up. If you can sing those tunes, you can definitely sing these bluegrass songs. It's just getting familiar with the phrasing, vocabulary, and the notes, like feeling the notes on your vocal cords. It's kind of weird to match pitch if you haven't done it in a long time or if you feel like you've never done it. So be patient with yourself during this process. I always say that this process isn't easier than learning from tab, but it's way more gratifying down the road once you get better at it. You'll start to be able to improvise, pick up songs at jam sessions, write your own tunes. It's a really cool thing when you can start to hear music in your head and then apply it to your instrument. And the more that you do anything, the more that you're going to get better at it. So back to that first phrase, lost all my money, lost all, lost all. So we have to find those two notes, the same note. Lost all. Okay, so I found it. Lost all. And then my money, my lost all. And this is where you can ask yourself, is this next note higher or lower than the note I'm singing? This takes a lot of focus and concentration. So once again, be easy on yourself. Let yourself take time to do this. It's not going to be instant gratification like it is when you look at the numbers on a sheet of paper and you can immediately put your fingers there. It's going to take a little bit more effort, but stick with it. Everybody goes through this at the beginning. Lost all my money, lost all my... So I'm hearing that as being higher than those original pitches. Lost all my... So you have to kind of figure out where that next note is by playing different notes that are higher than this note. There really are no notes lower than this note on the banjo, so you kind of have a lot of options there. But it helps to sing it to reinforce that melody as you go and as you're doing this process. Lost all my money, lost all my money, money. So you gotta fumble around until you find it. So you have that first phrase, lost all my money, and then but a $2 bill. So can you figure that out? Pause the video if you need to. $2 bill. $2. Is that lower or higher than this note? $2 bill. $2 bill. So what I'll do now is I'll put those together. Lost all my money, $2 bill. So I'm missing that, but a $2. Lost all my money, but a $2 bill. You can do that. You can do a little hammer on there if you want, or you can pluck each note, or you can leave it out. It's still in time the way that the melody sounds when a vocalist sings it. So you've got that. Lost all my money, but a $2 bill. And then $2 bill. You recognize that melody? So this stuff is all going to start to come together the more that you hear these vocal melodies, the more that you're listening to them and trying to figure them out. You'll figure out that there's a common vocabulary pretty much across the whole board of bluegrass music. And a lot of these songs are going to be out of this main position that we're playing out of for a $2 bill. It just requires some focus in the beginning to listen and figure out where these notes are. So that phrase that I just sang, $2 bill, $2 bill, Lord. So it's the same exact phrase. So you should listen for that in these songs. It happens a lot. And then a $2 bill, $2 bill. Can you figure out those last two notes? Bill, lost all my money. And then it repeats with the first phrase again. And something that's helping me, I should note, something that's helping me is singing the words. So learning the words to the song kind of ties the melody in there. You could go boo 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 da 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 do da 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 do da boo ba do da boo ba, but the words are going to kind of tie it together and keep you honest about what the melody is, and keep you honest about where the melody is happening in relationship to the chords, which is a really important part. Developing that awareness of melody and chords. Where do they intersect? Where do they kind of lie in relationship to each other? Because that's kind of like the sweet spot where you can start to roll through chords while you play these melodies. But I always tell students, if you go to a jam session and I'm there and I'm listening to people playing, and you play a melody with really good tone and timing that's super sparse like that, I would be impressed, because not everybody can do that, and not everybody takes the time to be able to do that. Once you have that foundation, then you can start to put in all the roll patterns you need to. You know, the vocabulary will kind of come the more that you can listen, the more that you listen to Earl Scruggs and see what melodies he creates or what roll patterns he puts on top of those melodies that Lester's singing. You know, that's what he was listening to. Is he was listening to Lester's voice and was like, okay, I've figured out where that basic melody is. Now let me figure out a creative way to kind of fill out my banjo sound by putting roll patterns around it. So once I've figured out all the pieces of the melody, you have to put it together. You have to play it with the metronome, make sure it's in time, sing the lyrics with it if you can. That always helps, and it's a really good skill to develop timing and your taste. After you've played that melody with the metronome, you want to play the chords to that melody and sing the melody while you play the chords. So it goes, lost all my money but a $2 bill, $2 bill, Lord, a $2 bill, lost all my money but a $2 bill, I'm on my long journey home. So you can see that's not necessarily doing anything super technical, but you're reinforcing where the melody is in relationship to the chords. And that's really important when you start to do something like this. So what I did there was improvised a melody of $2 bill, throwing in the chords with the melody. After you've done this with Long Journey Home, you've played the melody, you've played the chords, do it with the metronome, then do it with another song. Do it with another song. Do it with about 10 songs and see how it feels. And you might be surprised next time you go to a jam session that you can actually pick up a song faster than you thought you were able to, which is a really, really cool feeling. I remember going to jam sessions and really feeling bummed out because I was not being able to hang on when people were calling songs that I didn't know. But there was a moment where it kind of shifted over and I was starting to hear things, and then I could really focus on what the melody was with the vocal melody. I took a little bit of time to figure out what that melody was and pick it out on my instrument so my solo would be better than normal. But I started hearing these melodies and being able to put them on my instrument, which is so gratifying. And you can do it too. It just takes a little bit of time. Put the tab away, just use your ears, and really focus on what that melody is that you're hearing in your head. How can you put it on your banjo? If you have any questions, leave them in the comments section below. Subscribe if you're new, and please hit that like button. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next week for a new video.